Well, yeah, there's no way. Yeah.
Do you have to? Can I just start?
I'm not gonna well that.
Your boss is you know that.
Sit next to me, Robert. Make sure.
Shut up.
You're sure?
Love you.
At the Mondrian, we're started it all.
There we are.
James probably enough for the whole set. No, I'm just it's fine. I'm pretty sure Charles already got it.
Yeah.
Coffee. Can everyone hear me?
I can hear you.
I faced it.
Hey, what's up, motherfuckers?
We're at the Mondrian in honor of Kevin Dowell,
Oh, yeah, that's
where
right.
all the shenanigans really went down before we got kicked out of the standard. And
The
you
middle
were there,
down.
and
Middle
you were
down.
there, and you were there. Mondrian.
Epic proportions.
Epic time.
Epic proportions. Yeah.
Crazy. It's
Those
like
will be documented in our
You hear me? You heard me?
the whole thing is like it's not planned.
So, I have probably one of the rooms that we were in. The room in his honor, baby. Just Kevin, you only wanted the corner.
Always.
Always corner room, Kevin.
That's good, Jan.
Can't see shit.
No, we can see you, Jan.
Oh, you can?
Oh, yeah.
I can.
You're in the sunlight. Get out of the sunlight.
Anything. I can't hear either. Hi guys. Is there
Hello.
music playing right now? I can't hear anything.
There is. The music's pretty loud.
Okay, cool. It's not
Yeah,
just
it's
me.
not just pure you. Yeah, yeah.
Great.
I don't know who's controlling that, and I think Edna. I don't see her.
Not me.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean,
I am controlling it.
yeah.
We're about to start, guys.
I actually put stuff on hold music. Oh, hi, Johnny.
Okay. Are you ready?
Sure. Time. Here's time.
15 good? I don't know how much the thing
Oh,
was.
yeah. It's perfect. That's over 20. I like it.
Hey.
I'm gonna watch it. Like time and say your goodbyes and hopefully they're in there.
Yeah.
Where did I go? Where did I go? I was running. I was running. I was running away. I was running away. Where did I go? Where did I go? I was hiding. I was hiding. I was hiding away. I was hiding away.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We are here live at the Great Northern in San Francisco. I thought this would be a great place to do it, as Kevin loved going to places like this, enjoying himself. So I also want to, again, thank everybody for coming to join us today and remembering our pal, Kevin Dowell. We got people walking. I can see you all over there. It's great. People in the sunshine. Hi, everybody. Thanks again. So real quick, we'd like all of you to mute your microphones, please. If you could go ahead and just mute your mic. Look down at the bottom, whatever it is on your controls there, because we can kind of hear all of you at the same time.
That's
If
me.
you are speaking, that is the time when you go ahead and unmute the microphone. Bueno, bueno? Okay, thumbs up, everybody. Thank you. First off, I'd like to thank Manny, DJ M3, and everybody from the Great Northern for donating the space. Appreciate it, Manny. What we're going to do today is a handful of people are going to speak and talk about our great pal, Kevin Dowell. Fun stories. We're going to try to keep this upbeat. If you hang around long enough, there's going to be some music at the end, including a really lovely slideshow that Benjamin put together for us. So a lot of you are going to be in that slideshow. So hang out for that. We're going to light a candle here at the beginning. We're going to hold the space for Kevin and this time to remember and tell stories about our pal, Kevin Dowell. Henry, if you want to wave a little bit of sage, brother, and then we're going to do the candle here real quick. The program of speakers today, we're going to have Henry and Atusa and Matthew. And we have a video from Shar, Kevin's old neighbor, and Edna, and Marcia, and Johnny, and I'll kind of be hosting. Okay, candle is lit, guys. So if you have a candle at home and if you want to join in on that, please do. And also, of course, at the end, guys, we're going to be doing a toast. So if you want to get something ready, whatever you want, whatever you prefer, we will be raising a glass to our pal, Kevin Dowell. So this time, I just want to take the space. And we're going to try to move through this as fast as possible. And we're going to hear some really fun stories. We're going to laugh, maybe cry. And we're going to remember our pal, Kevin Dowell. Sir Henry, brother?
Yes, sir.
Are you ready to start
Sure.
up, my friend? Go ahead and pull off your mask. And on.
All right.
All right. See your face, my friend. Thank you. Henry Navarro, everybody.
Hey there. I'm Henry Navarro. Thanks for joining us and remembering Kevin Dowell. I'm not much of a public speaker, but I'll go ahead and give this a shot. I guess I was trying to think of when I met Kevin. I met Kevin in 1991. And that was like during the height of the festival era. So I got to see a lot of Kevin's larger than life personality as we all got to know him. You know, Lollapalooza, all of the festivals that went on during the early 90s, basically. He had such a Hollywood personality back then that we even called him Hollywood for a few years there as a joke, being that we had some good times together. Kevin loved enjoying life. You know, he loved boating, he loved jet skiing, he did a lot of traveling, especially in the early 90s with the festivals. But more importantly, he really did love hanging around with his friends. He had friends all over the United States. He had friends overseas that he would always talk about. And he would always make plans and always had time to meet up with his friends no matter where they were. That was something that I always appreciated about him. Kevin was probably, I've known Kevin, although I've known Kevin since 91, he's actually, I've known him since 91, and we've been pretty close friends up until that point. Up until recently that he passed away, we were seeing each other practically almost every day. I would stop by his house after work, so he was always somebody that I could count on being there for me. Everything that I ever tried doing, he was always my biggest supporter. It's really going to be hard not having somebody that on my corner just ready to take on whatever was coming our way. Whatever it was I was doing, he was just always so interested in knowing and being a part of it, and always trying to help me strategically plan what the next move was, whether it was with my music or with my photography business or video production. He was always eager to just try to help me head on with whatever issue I was having with it. And not having him around is going to be really hard because of that reason alone. He was basically my biggest supporter in San Francisco, my biggest support base, and it's going to be rough. I actually wouldn't even be in San Francisco if it wasn't for Kevin. He moved here in 1997, and then he later kept calling me and telling me all the stories that he was having here, and I moved here in 1998 into a house that he was living at in Portola on Holyoke. Sharon Buck was living in the basement in another apartment. And that was my first introduction to San Francisco. He's going to be missed. Every day we would talk about all the things that we were dealing with the city changing and to be honest with you, Kevin was probably pretty close to leaving the city, if you want to know the truth. He talked about leaving a lot and he just didn't know where he wanted to go. I, for one, can't leave San Francisco, but it was always something that he was interested in doing and he never got to do. So anyway, I think I've talked long enough. Who's going to be next? Ethan, do we know?
Yeah, I'll come up.
Okay, so Ethan's going to come up and share some stories. If I think of any other stories, which I'm sure I will, I'll come in near the end or whatever. But I appreciate you all for coming out and helping us remember Kevin Dowell, a real dear friend of ours. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Henry. That was awesome. Appreciate it, brother. I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Ethan Jenkins, close homie of Kevin's. I just want to give a little bit of my story real quick here, and then Atusa, you're going to go after me. Somebody will make a chat on that. Matthew, are you you're going to be zooming in? We thought you might be here, but I think you're going to be doing it remotely as well. I met Kevin almost immediately as he came here to San Francisco. He had met up with our brother, our lost brother, Matty B. Matty B had been out there in, I guess he met him in Missouri. I don't know if they're in Columbia or whatever. Did he go to school out there? I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
They connected out there. They became friends. Kevin came out a couple times to hang out, and the first time that he came to San Francisco, he stayed in my room. I was out of town. He was like, I don't know where to stay, and for a couple weeks, he stayed in my room there at 1360 Hay Street, the old Accelerator House, and the rest is kind of history. Hung out with that cat for the better part of 25 years, more than that. So many fun times, so many travels that I'll kind of pick up on a little bit later. I think we became tighter friends certainly in the early 2000s. And so many fun times with Kevin, so many good trips, so many festivals, so many concerts. I mean, he took me out to go see Dylan jet skiing up there in Berryessa and Lake Sonoma. A lot of fun times and some really good stories that I will share with you a little bit later on. But now, let's move on to Atusa. Atusa, are you ready? Is your mic off? Are you ready to zoom in with us?
Yes,
Yes,
can you hear me?
Is that good? You guys got her?
Hi there.
I gotta find her.
Atusa, take it away, my friend.
So I met Kevin coming up for New Year's with my ex-boyfriend. He was living with Eric and Sharon Buck. And I will never forget the day I walked in and I met Kevin, also known as KD. We instantly connected and we have been friends ever since that New Year's in the early 90s. We would frequently come to the Mondrian, where I'm at today, in a corner room. If you know Kevin, he only wanted the corner room. And we began many adventures, not only in San Francisco, but in Los Angeles. At the time, I was living in Los Angeles, and I would come up to San Francisco and stay with him. He would come down, get a room at the Mondrian, and we also met Robert. And he was a special guy. He was like my knight, my protector. He always had my back. Unconditional love. I remember getting him the RV spot next to me at the Sensei Camp Out, and that was our special place to go. And that was when we really celebrated life with each other. I will never forget the shenanigans, the fun times we had. We went through so much together, and I will forever miss his spirit, his funny jokes, his sarcastic tone, and his outlook on life. We never had a dull moment. He literally had my back from the moment I met the guy, always with an open door, a place to stay. If I needed a ride, he would be there. If I needed anything, I could count on him. He loved my girls. He loved my husband. We loved jet skiing together. We loved life, and I celebrate him, and I still cannot believe he's actually gone. And that's it for me. I will miss you forever. You will never be forgotten.
Thank you so much, Atusa. Appreciate
Thank
the time.
you.
That was really beautiful. All right. Now, I think we are going to move into Mr. Matthew Conradi. Sir, are you ready to go? I see you're out in the veranda deck out there or something.
There's a lot of people with us.
We can also keep it on gallery.
There we go.
Sir, thank you very
Cheers. All right, then. Well, I don't know. Just to pick up, hey guys, we're taking this time to remember Kev, and I thought about this, and simply put, for me, Kevin Dowell was a part of my San Francisco history, and larger than life. And what else is, I don't know, there's not much to say about him that hasn't been said. Going back to, I had to, my time with Kevin started as it was a rumor that once again a friend of Matthew Burnson, Matty B, was moving to San Francisco, and this guy was really cool. He was larger than life and a lot of fun to party with. And you know, I ended up living with Kevin from 98 to 99 up at another house up on Ventura Hill, and some quasi notorious house that some people might remember and from back in the mid 90s, and a lot of fun. But you know, just so many memories of like good times with Kevin and Maddie B, and man, like, you know, Maddie B laughing until literally was going to pee his pants and begging Kevin and me to stop poking him. And just I don't know, those that remember hopefully will relish in my description there. I mean, and you know, as time has moved on, and you know, we ended up moving out of the city in 2011 with the family. But you know, Kevin stayed a big part of our life. Both my boys, you know, remember him and as kind of this big, gentle, wild teddy bear that would come by every once in a while to eat dinner with a bunch of folks. And so you know, he stayed with me, and as almost as a part of our family, as I know it was with the Tusa. And I'm so grateful for our time. And you know, sometimes too, it's just, you know, sometimes it was challenging with it was uneasy with our friendship with Kevin. But you know, sometimes the most rewarding things in life and things that mean the most aren't easy. And you take both the good and the bad, and you grow from it. And you know, I think Kevin was responsible for that for me. And he's so missed. He's coming into the city is not the same anymore. Anyways, Kev D, love you all. Thanks for listening.
Hello, my name is Shar.
And I'm Josie. And I'm Stevie.
And we were Kevin's best neighbors for 7.5 years. Well, actually, Kevin was the best neighbor for us for 7.5 years. When we moved in, Kevin noticed that my television was in the front entry, and he helped me carry it up, and he set it up for us. And then he put his Netflix on my TV so that the kids could watch. He was always there when I asked for help. I would text him, and then he would call back and say, "Do you want me to get rid of that spider before you guys go to bed?" And he would come over at 10 p.m. and fix that problem for us. He was even there when we didn't ask for help. He would get rid of the weeds in front of the house and trim my tree without even me asking for help, because he knew that we didn't have the tools to do it. He watched the kids for me so that I could go out for New Year's Eve. And he also would watch the kids when I was washing the car. When Stevie was an infant in a car seat and Josie was 3 years old and in the front foyer, he would watch them so that I could watch the car as fast as I could. He would come over and hang out for breakfast. And for dinner one time, he made mac and cheese for the kids. He was very thoughtful like that. He gave the kids presents all the time.
Like when he came back from Yellowstone Park, he brought me back this wolf. And when he came back from his hometown, he brought back his childhood moose, canned moose. And even when it wasn't a holiday or a birthday, he brought back presents like Garfield.
He would give them stickers, all sorts of things. He was so thoughtful.
He gave me a green car. He gave me another car and 3 of his childhood cars. And he gave me this giant Bigfoot RC car.
Yes. Kevin loved RC cars, and we are very fortunate that in August of this year, we were able to go to the park socially distanced and play with Kevin's RC cars that he shared with us. And then Stevie got one so that he could beat Kevin's car, and we were planning to go take the cars out again. And so I'd like to play a message that I got from Kevin. This was on August 18th.
Hey guys, me. Seeing how things are going. got my card picked back up or something. Just know you guys want to get together and try another spot playing with some RPGs, give me a call.
We were kind of bummed that we were not able to play with the RC cars with Kevin again, but I am sure that he is racing them as fast as he can somewhere over the rainbow. We will miss you, Kevin Dowell. We miss you so much.
Okay. Thank you so much, Shar. I had the opportunity to meet Shar a couple times over the years. Again, next door neighbor to KD's. They're in the neighborhood. So now we're going to go to Miss Edna Barron.
No,
Rhea.
that's not my last name.
Edna Rhea, I'm sorry. And we are going to, I think you got a little bit of musical accompaniment and some really exciting stories. And I will go over there and do my best at running the Zoom thing. Apologies, we're not Zoom pros. We're making it work. Everybody hears Edna.
Hey. KD! KD was a boy in every sense. He loved cars, he loved music, he loved chicks, and he loved gadgets. But in another sense, Kevin was a matriarch figure to his friends. He was always there for us like a loud mother hen, providing shelter and entertainment in any way that he knew how. When I think of Kevin, the word enjoyment comes to mind. In the early years of my knowing KD, he was louder than hell, and he made me laugh a lot. He went to a lot of parties. He threw his own parties. He once complained to me that people didn't invite him out for his birthday, and yet he invited friends out for theirs. He supported his friends in their careers. He bought their art. He lent them money when they were in a rut. He helped house his community. He gave them advice. And he forged lots of new relationships by connecting his friends to each other. He helped me party in my 20s. He guided me, made sure I was partying safely and comfortably. I'm sure he did that for others too. And let's be honest here, that entertainment system that he had, the bidet in his bathroom, those weren't for Kevin. They were for us. Kevin bought those things so that his friends could come over and enjoy them. Kevin had excellent taste in politics, in comedy, in sound gear, but especially in music. He made friends with the New Zealand band Fat Freddy's Drop and followed them around the world, even hosted them when they visited here. He also loved Radiohead and followed them on tour. One year, he told me he was going on 7 consecutive Radiohead concerts in different states. About a decade ago, I saw Radiohead with Kevin and Ethan at the Rose Bowl in Hollywood. We were almost kicked out for smoking weed there, before it was legal. We all had medicinal cards, so there was a moment where I thought Kevin, as righteous as he was sometimes, might make a fuss with the security and actually bail on the concert. He had 6 more to go to anyway. But Radiohead was too important, and weed was just weed. In the end, the security guards took it away and probably smoked it themselves. Another thing Kevin enjoyed was driving. He offered to teach me to drive 3 times, but I was always afraid of crashing these beautiful cars. And he recently had a Tesla on the way, and there was no way in hell I was possibly going to ruin that for him. But what he loved most about driving was having company in his car and blasting music as loud as he could for everyone to enjoy. In January, Kevin was at my house remembering his teenage years, driving around in a convertible with the top down, full of his friends and a bunch of chicks, blasting the Party album, on tape of course, of Madonna's Everybody. He said he would cruise around showing off the bass of the car stereo when the remix hit. With a huge smile on his face, he said, The bass was bumping. I believed him. So I went online and I ordered the vinyl album that night. When it arrived 2 weeks later, I sent him a photo of the cover, and he was excited for me to hear it.
Turn it up.
Let me play the one he was talking about. So I'm a drum and bass girl, and he knew that. When he said the bass was bumping, he was hyping it up to me to be heavy, but this was not as bassy as I thought it was going to be. But it was the 80s, what did I expect? Katie enjoyed company so much he got himself a cat roommate. Cosmo was skittish until recently. 5 years ago, Katie left town and had no one to watch Cosmo and his plants, so he asked me. I was dating an idiot at the time who was helping me watch the house. The first afternoon I left, I asked that idiot, per Kevin's request, to not leave the door open. But, of course, he fell asleep and he left the door open. When I got back, I noticed a hole was clawed out of the front gate. We looked everywhere and determined that Cosmo had escaped. So I went on Kevin's Facebook page looking for pictures of Cosmo. I called Kevin to give him the bad news. He said, I asked you to do one thing. I can't even talk to you right now. And I said, if we don't find Cosmo, I understand if you never want to talk to me again. Can you show the poster? So I made a missing cat poster, and I posted them all over the neighborhood and on Craigslist. We knocked on every door. We talked to cat ladies. One of them told us there was a cat gang that hung out by the gas station at night. So the night before Kevin returned, we went there. And lo and behold, there was a cat gang. And I thought I saw Cosmo. I even called his name and he came up to me, but we couldn't get him out. So that morning before Katie boarded his flight home, I let him know that we spotted Cosmo by the gas station with the cat gang. A few hours later, he called me and very nonchalantly said, he's here. What? Yeah, he was just hiding under the floorboards downstairs. For 3 days? Yeah, Cosmo didn't eat, drink, or use the litter box for 3 days, just hiding downstairs while we frantically looked for him everywhere else. But what about the hole? What hole? He said. Oh, that's always been there. I was mad at Cosmo for a few years after that, and he would always run away from me when I called him names. He knew what he did. But when I saw Cosmo last in May, he let me pet him and hung out with us as we watched Curb Your Enthusiasm. So similar to Katie, Cosmo had completely chilled out over time. And now he's with Jen. I hope he's not hiding from her. You can stop, Cher. Kevin was an animal lover, but he loved to share. Recently, he hired goats to graze his backyard, and he said, come enjoy them with me. Katie was the only person I let call me sweetie, because when he said it, it wasn't with a chauvinist or condescending tone. It was just innocent and plain nice. Kevin was caring. He was human. What I will always remember about Kev was that he enjoyed life. And so, it is with heavy hearts that we have to carry on and enjoy ours to the fullest. Love your friend's heart and reach out to the ones that you seldom see, because you never know when you'll get another chance.
Thank you so much, Edna. That was really beautiful. I want to echo a few things that she said. You know, a lot of us went to visit Kevin at his house and all the amazing gear that he was so proud of. And Edna is 100% correct in that one. You know, he had DJ setups and video games and all this stuff. And you knew that, you know, he told me recently when we were hanging out, he was like, we talked about all the DJ gear that he had. And he goes, that's not for me, man. That's just for friends that come to visit. And he was a little bummed out, of course, that with COVID, people couldn't come over to visit as much, because everybody knows how much Kevin loved to entertain and loved to be the life of the party. And more than anything, I think Kevin really wanted everybody else to be having fun. Wherever we were, whatever we were doing, Kevin was like, are you good? You got this? I got you. I just wanted to relay a couple of things on a personal tip that he did with me. But before that, I wanted to just update a few people on Cosmo Kitty. If you were wondering what was up with Cosmo, I want to shout out Jen Topman, who is now the proud owner of Cosmo, and she came down very quickly and brought Cosmo back to her place, and she's the cat mama now, and apparently everything's going awesome, and lots of fun is had, right? Jen, I see you in your car somewhere. Can't see it from here, but thank you so much for doing that. And also, a quick shout out to Chris,
coming out. Yep.
Who's also, I see, logging in. He was there at the Hollywood Bowl with us for that Radiohead show some years ago. And I remember, what was it that he said? Saw? Somebody wrote Saw on our ticket. We're like, what is he talking about? All right, before I go into a few more things about my personal time with Kevin and how much he had my back and how much he helped me, we are going to go with a very close and special friend of Kevin's, as all of you are. And I also want to take a moment to suggest how cool it is to me that just about the majority of the people, I think, that are here with us today, and thank you again for taking the time to join us here for this memorial service, I know through Kevin. Like so many of these people, all of you people, I've met through Kevin. Not everyone, but the majority, including Henry here and Jen, so many others. And this special lady, who's like a sister to me, who was like a sister to Kevin. The reason that I knew her again is because he introduced us, and I ended up living with her for quite some time until she moved to New York, and we've stayed very close ever since. So Marshanti, if you're ready to go, we have Marshanti here from Brooklyn, New York. What up, Willie B, Williamsburg. Marshanti, thank you so much for joining us. Go ahead.
Thanks, Ethan. I think everybody did a really great job of capturing the essence of Kevin, how he's very thoughtful, very nice, full of life, and etc. So I'm going to make it very quick. Maybe I'll talk about something that perhaps you don't know. But I believe that we don't just meet people by accident. They are meant to cross paths for a reason. I met Kevin in 2004 through Darren. At the time, I was looking for a roommate, and Darren said, hey, my friend Kevin is looking for a roommate. So he moved in to Masonic. And since then, our friendship just blossomed and grew each year. He was my roommate, my best friend, my family, and I know that he would do anything for me and vice versa. The biggest thing that he did for me is actually helping me sort out with my visa at the time. I was overstayed in the United States, and he offered to help. I was like, wow, you know, like who would have done such thing for friends? It's only a person with the biggest heart will do such thing as a friend. So I wouldn't be here today if not because of Kevin. And earlier this year, out of nowhere, he gave me a call and he asked me basically a big favor, which I wasn't very comfortable doing. And I told him that, but he practically begged me for it. He said, Marcia, this is something that you have to do for me. You have to help me on this month. So I finally agreed without giving much thought, because I thought, well, he's not going anywhere. He might change his mind in a few months, in a few years, but that wasn't the case. So I sometimes found myself stunned to silent these past weeks and still cannot entirely process the fact that he's gone. So Kevin, wherever you are, I'm forever grateful for your friendship. And I know you did this because you trust me. And I know that you did this because you knew I would make things right. So I would do everything that I can, at the best that I can, to fulfill your wish. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Marcia. Really appreciate you joining us today. Hey to the family. Also want to remind folks, and just a couple speakers, we are going to be doing a little bit of a toast. So if you have anything you want to pull together, grab a glass, whatever, raise it with us, pour one out for our homie. Please take a moment to get prepared for that. Before we get to Johnny, I just wanted to reflect on a couple of things as well. You know, Kevin, there's like 4 key things I'm thinking. There was a time in the early 2000s when he was sort of on his own sort of timeout, so to speak. I think a lot of people know the story, and he moved into this cool place that I think he got by Darren at North Beach. Beautiful view, and I would come over and hang out with Kevin a lot during that era. I think it was a tough time for Kevin. I really enjoyed spending time with him at that point, and we used to watch some cool shows on HBO together, and I think we really got a lot tighter at that point. Moving forward, there were 4 key things that Kevin really did for me that affected my life very, very deeply. The first was, of course, introducing me to Marcia. Marcia and I lived together there at the house for a few years. And then she decided to seek greener pastures and move to New York. And somehow this house that they'd had since college, with all these people and Kevin and the Indonesian crew and everything, I inherited it. And I'm so honored for that. Thank you, Marcia. And had lived there for a while, and a bunch of other cool people as well. So I have Kevin to thank me for that sort of living experience, but it wasn't the only time. Because before that, I was kind of in a little bit of limbo, and I really needed a place to stay, and so that was really helpful. And then I moved on, and I think somebody bought the place, and they wanted to move in, etc. So it was time to find a different place. And I looked and looked and looked, and I found this place that I thought was pretty sweet. You know, the rental market here wasn't so insane at that point, but it was pretty kooky. And I found this place that I was like, wow, it was so much better than anything else I'd found. It was so much more affordable, and I just was like, wow, how is this possible? So I'm like, okay. And as soon as I left the open house, I went to the car and I called Kevin. I said, hey man, so I found this place, and and he goes, dude, jump on it immediately. Those windows do not stay open for very long at all. I really think you should just hit it up. Go for it, dude. And I'm so thankful, because that advice, I said, okay, gotcha. Had all my ducks in line. I had my whole packet with me, and I filled out the app, and I drove it directly over to the real estate agency on Geary, and I put in the app. And thankfully, then I drove to my next place in the Mission, and they were like, dude, you're in, like your credit, place is yours. And I really think that in retrospect, I don't know if that would have happened. I may have waited or hung out or thought about it for a day, because I went in to sign the paperwork the next morning, and the guy was like, I'm glad you did this, because 4 or 5 people called back and they wanted to do it, and but I already gave it to you. So beginning in 2006 to this date, I mean, I kind of owe where I live to influence and advice from KD. Also, shortly after that I moved in there, as you all know, things got a little dicey in 2008. The economy took bigger, and a lot of people were struggling at the time. And I needed to kind of hustle up some cash and figure out some opportunities for myself. And Kevin really helped me out with a lot of opportunity. He gave me sort of a loan and extended some credit to me, and really sort of set me up out of the kindness of his heart. And I'll never forget that. Kevin just sort of, and we made it through 2008, and everything was good, and we continue to have a great relationship like that as well for some years to come. And the last thing, and I guess this was sort of a cool project of this year of the pandemic period, Kevin really wanted to get me into a home theater system. And you know Kevin. Kevin is a high-end stereo guy, and he was always trying to sell people on this. Check this out and check that out. And he's like, I've got this, you've got to get this. And I'm like, okay, I mean, sure, let's do this. But then I'm like, wait a minute, I just lost my job, and I don't know if I'm in a position to spend $2,000. But Kevin was really cool about all of that because he wanted me to have it, and I was like, okay, I can't refuse this. And he's such a good salesman. Like, Kevin was not only the guy that would like sell you up, but then he knew the questions that you might have in your head, and he would assuage those by going, and this and this and this. And you're like, well, I don't even have anything to push back on anymore. Okay, Kevin, you got me. So now in my house, it's like a cool surround system, and price I never could have got anywhere else. And I'm so thankful for all the time and effort. And he would come over and we'd tweak it out. And the cool thing was that there were some problems, and he was totally willing to work with me on that and fix it. And do we have to call the speaker guy and get that fixed? And I mean, the manufacturer, he was going to call the manufacturer to have it replaced. So just what a guy that went the distance and always wanted to make sure that you were good. And I'm just so happy that we had that close connection. You know, sometimes when Kevin would go through some challenging times, it just was good that certain friends, you know, could be there for him. And I know that he felt comforted by a certain handful of us that would be over there and be like, oh, bro, we're cool. Everything is good. We're going to be fine. And I just, I miss my brother, man. It was just such a surprise that day that I was camping. You know, I'm really thankful that I hadn't seen Kevin a ton over the summer. We'd kind of been doing our stuff. I went on a little road trip. I think he went home for a while, back to Missouri, and we do a little bit of texting here and there randomly. Maybe it was Trailer Park Boys or just some random stuff. But there was two last little pieces of gear for the stereo thing, like a remote control and a special mic that you could tune the system with. And I reached out to him, and I came over, and I picked them up, and it was just one random Tuesday afternoon. And I couldn't hang out very long, unfortunately, so I picked up a couple pieces of gear and made another installment on the money that I owed him. And I had to rush off because I was meeting my girlfriend, Annalie, at Costco. And I was a little bummed that I couldn't hang out because he was kind of in good spirits. And for some reason, every time I came over to see Kevin, he was always like on a project. And I didn't know if he was on the project or he just wanted to look busy when we were there, but he was like, oh, I got to hang this thing right here. So I took off, and for some reason, the staircase, I wanted him to know this. And I told him, I love you, Kevin. And he kind of shrugged. I was like, no, Kevin, I love you, brother. And he was like, oh, okay, yeah, you know I love you too, man. And that was it, and I had to take off, and I texted him the next day, and we had a nice text conversation. It had something to do with our first cars. It was really pretty fun, like pictures from when we were teenagers and just these dumpy cars that would probably crash. Or I know mine had a bunch of fender-bender accidents, and I'm sure he did too. And then I was camping, and I got a text one morning talking about a conversation that he had with Marsha, and I can't believe that there I was camping, and the signal was coming through. We're up in Tahoe, and then the rest was kind of history. Love my brother. He's a good guy, good fella. And I think we're all appreciative and much better people for having him in our lives. And the attention to just the time he spent making sure that his people around him were good and happy and entertained and in a good place. So we have one more speaker, and then we may open it up if anybody has a little something or a quick aside that they want to add before we wrap this up. I want to open the floor to Johnny Walker Jr., who will be joining us from New Mexico.
Hey guys.
Live and direct. Johnny, you ready to rock, my friend? Okay, take it away,
I
brother.
guess so. I had wrote something that I have in front of me. And, I actually can't read it. It's more of like a last letter to Kevin. And looking at you guys, I realized that we're here for each other. I don't think I could get through it, really. And I just want to thank Ethan and Edna and Manny for hosting, for everybody for showing up and holding this space. It takes a lot of strength and courage, which I don't really have that much of right now to say what I wanted to say initially. And I guess that was kind of, in a roundabout way, the point of what I wrote. I had actually been in contact with Kevin a lot more this summer, and even after I moved, and he was even offering me to like live with him, you know, right before I decided to like come back to New Mexico. So Kevin just automatically showed up for me. Like, I didn't ask anything of him, but he was always there for me no matter what, from the beginning. So as much as I don't really want to have to like say words right now, I feel like I'd like to show up for Kevin one last time. And just trying to get like some kind of silver lining or some kind of lesson from Kevin's passing, which is really hard. And I don't think I'll forget it, because I found out, you know, on my birthday this year. So it's something that it's just going to stick with me, especially in the way I found out. But I don't think I said it enough. Some of the stuff that you guys have shared and the openness about like how much we care about each other. Sometimes a lot of things even between old friends kind of go unsaid, you know? And I think that's the only takeaway that I can really get from this, is that it's really important that we take the time that we have with each other when we are together to really, really, you know, affirm those things and say those things. Because even though I was there for him in a lot of ways, he propped me up as a friend, and I don't know if I really communicated that clearly enough to him over the years, consistently, you know. I know that we had like a deep friendship, a brotherhood, and a love that like would always, you know, stand the test of time. Like even if we were out of touch, we could just pick up where we left off. But I do, you know, carry a regret that I didn't say how I felt enough to him and how much I appreciated him showing up. But thank you everybody for sharing, and I think that's it that I have to say. I didn't want to end it on a sad note, so yeah. Thanks.
Thank you, Johnny. As we really appreciate your time today and joining us and saying a few words, as we do for everybody that took some time to spoke today. I kind of wanted to open it up a little bit. If anybody's out there and thought of a cool story that they want to share, let us know, I guess, via the chat. If that's possible, if you want to like chime in and tell a couple little words, let us know. Or perhaps Jen, if you're available, you'd like to give a little update on Cosmo, or send a text through the chat feature that we can let people know how that beautiful kitty is.
Yeah.
I can. I'll just stand by here for a moment.
Hey. Yeah, no. Hi, guys. Cosmo's doing great. He spent about a month hiding and growling at me and partying at night. But he is now coming out to be fed and lets me pet him, even let me pick him up the other day. Not for very long, of course. But I think he's doing good. So that's an update on Cosmo. I have a funny story to tell about Kevin, too. I was living in Minnesota, and he kept, you know, we would talk here and there, and he'd tell me about Fat Freddy's Drop. Like, he loved the band. You got to check these guys out. You have to fly back. They're coming. They're playing, you know. And I flew back from Minnesota and stayed with Kevin, and we would see Fat Freddy's Drop with Atusa. So, the three of us and perfect Atusa and Kevin style, we're at the show. And I kept going, like I was dancing with my eyes closed. I kept going, oh, who's playing now? And Kevin was getting so mad at me. He was like, Fat Freddy's dropped, Jen, I told you. And so for like, I don't know how many times I asked him and how many times he kept telling us. But yeah, and then we hung out with these guys after. It was such a great night. But forever when I hear Fat Freddy's drop, I think of Kevin. And that night when I asked him like 100 times and he was getting so pissed. So fun times with Kevin. I'm going to miss him dearly. And Cosmo's doing great.
Thank you, Jen. Thanks for the update. 10 pictures. We want to see that. So, Edna, do we have anybody else who wants to throw a funny story out? Has anybody got a little something on the text?
There she is.
Stand by, folks, and get your drinks ready again, of course, because we're going to be doing that shortly.
There you go.
Is there anybody that wants to? Is there anybody else that would like to say a few words before we sort of wrap this up and move to the awesome slideshow that we're going to end this with? A couple of really beautiful songs that were favorites of Kevin's.
Hi, Ethan. Can I add something? It's Kim. Someone wants to talk.
Okay, Kim, Sins, go for it.
Okay, hi, everyone. It's funny because I haven't met some of you that I see, but Kevin has mentioned many of you through the years that I've known him. This is probably going to be a little bit messy because I'm ill-prepared to speak, but Kevin and I met in 2007, and we met through a boyfriend that I was dating at the time. And it was kind of like we became a trio. So it was me, the boyfriend, and Kevin, all kind of best friends. And so for the last 13 years, Kevin really felt like family. And if I could use one adjective to describe him, I see that my video has stopped. Okay, sorry about that. So if I could use one adjective to describe Kevin, I think it would be big. Big personality, big heart, big emotions. When he was happy, he was obscenely happy. When he was down, he was obscenely down. But that made him very lovable. And because Kevin and I knew each other for so long, we saw each other through the undulations of life, right? The loss of his parents. He knew about, loss and growth in my life. And he was the type of person who had my back always, whether, I was experiencing something positive or something negative. Like, he was the type of person who would be angry at my family because they had wronged me. Like, that was the kind of unconditional love and support that he offered. The last thing I'll say about Kevin is that he's irreplaceable, that I've never met anyone like him, that he was crazy and has the biggest heart and had the best childlike sense of humor, the deepest sense of playfulness as an adult. I always admired that about him. Yeah, I'll just miss him, and there is no one like him on the planet. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kim. We appreciate your time. We have few more people that want to say a few words. Justin, sir, if you're ready to go, you have the floor.
Hi, everybody. I'm here from Columbia, Missouri. I met Kevin back when I was 17. '91 back with Henry. So, you know, I'll keep it short. I loved KD, and because of KD, I saw Jerry Garcia's last show in Chicago. Saw the Beastie Boys twice, and when I came out to San Francisco for 2.5 weeks, KD put me up, didn't make me pay anything, and showed me San Francisco like I'll never see it. So, KD, I love you. You guys inspired me, and I just wanted to share my story. So, thanks for putting this together. Everybody's done a great job.
Henry says thank you also. Thank you so much, Justin. Also, we'd like to hear something from Missy B. Would like to say a few words. Missy B.
Oh, sorry, I need a second after Justin. I wasn't expecting to say anything, and I want to just have a goodbye for him too. Kevin was the only person who I could actually be really open with all of my own mental health hurdles over the years, with the way that it can completely just overwhelm you. He was one of the only people that I felt like I could always, even like, you know, high off our asses in the woods, really actually get really grounded with and have that real super vulnerable, honest conversation with. He totally got the isolation and the blurting out the wrong thing and alienating yourself from people thing that not a lot of people really did. And it was for those of us who loved him, I just wanted to reflect the amazing love for himself that it was a privilege to observe over those years, and the way that these last few months, the last conversation that I had with him was one of real relief that he was expressing so much I don't know, growth and understanding of all of it for himself, and it was a relief and a really beautiful and humbling thing to have the most recent conversation that I had with him, and it was like, oh wow, you know, it was really one of those kinds of conversations that you are. It was humbling and a privilege to see how far somebody had come in that struggle, I don't know how to speak right now, that path. And yeah, he was in a cool place, and it was neat to see. So there's that, and I'm grateful for him and for that.
What?
And you guys.
Thank you so much, Missy B. Appreciate you sharing that with us. Alrighty, guys. So we're just about to wrap things up, unless there's did we have one
Can I
more
say
person?
something? Yes.
We got someone waving. Brian. Okay. You're up, sir.
Can you hear me?
Wait.
Yeah, I met Kevin in 6th grade. We grew up together in Mexico, Missouri, and Kevin was always a great guy. You know, it's like he's gone too soon. All the love he received and like all the love he gave back, and just goes to show me that we were raised together and we were raised right, because we loved our friends, we did everything for our friends, and it shows. So many traits they said about Kevin, man, I'm so like me. That's how great we were growing up, and he was a great guy. And he's going to truly be missed. Bye, Kev. Oh, okay, I go. There was our tearing up now. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Byron. We appreciate that. Okay, so if you've got a little something to
I'd like to say
raise a toast with, go ahead and grab that. We have some more people that want to speak. Who is this? Henry?
This is Richard.
Okay, Richard, thank you. Go ahead, guys.
I'd just like to say I met Kevin probably about 1999. An ex-girlfriend he had. It was kind of a very awkward story. Suffice to say, you know, Kevin and I worked together for many years while he was at the home theater store on Market Street, and I worked at a restaurant a couple buildings down, and we'd always get off work and spend time together hanging out and talking audio equipment and just RC cars and just all this goofy stuff that, you know, he was always into, and I kind of always pretended to be into, because for me it was much more important to just spend time with the man who knew no bounds of generosity and love and compassion and kindness. So when my wife and I moved to Southern California, he was one of the first people to come visit. You know, and so I didn't talk to him very often, but I always cherished the time that we would get on the phone and catch up. And I think back all those times going to boat parties together or camp out or whatever it was, you know, those times we got to spend together, and it was really good. So yeah. Thanks, Kevin. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks, guys. So I'm just going to read a little poem here. And then we're going to toast our pal, Kevin Dowell. I think this kind of goes both ways, from him to us and us to him. If ever there is a tomorrow when we're not together, there is something you must always remember. You are braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think. But the most important thing is, even if we are apart, I'll always be with you. Remember that when we think about Kevin. All right, so I'm going to raise a glass here in this room, here in the Great Northern, here in the Great North. Annie, Henry, Edna, Kevin, I want us all to sort of think of something that you would like Kevin to know. And then in your own special way, say goodbye, Kevin. But first, I'm just going to tip a little one to my homie. Kev. To Kevin Garth Dowell.
looked over by the walls and went fishing. Went fishing. Went fishing.
I sit and watch you from my window, lady. I see you giving yourself away. I see the ground kept at your feet. I see the sweet turns of defeat. Sweet lady, sweet lady, sweet lady. And then you turn to me instinctively, just like you're checking if you're alone. Then like a reflex from my mind, I fall away into the background like a shadow on the wall. Oh yeah, shadow on the wall. Shadow on the wall. time I change my view. I got nothing left to lose, like a bubble, never had no shoes. Rolling these streets deep and darkest night. I wanna love, don't wanna fight. I wanna love, I don't wanna fight, yeah, yeah. I wanna love, I don't wanna fight, yeah, yeah. I wanna love, I don't wanna fight, yeah, yeah. I wanna love, I don't wanna fight, yeah, yeah. I wanna love, I don't wanna fight, yeah, yeah. I wanna love, I don't wanna fight, yeah, yeah. I wanna love, I don't wanna fight, yeah, yeah.
They do.
Oh, I mean, they have callers.
That's